Baselayr Complete. This emulsion does it all, and I'm going to tell you why Baselayr Complete is the emulsion advanced shops need. A quicker video would be about what this emulsion does not do. If you have a high production, high volume shop, or you're an advanced printer, you can count on Complete. What is Baselayr Complete, and who should use it? What kind of setup does a printer need for this emulsion? How should you coat, and how long should you expose your screen? Let's dive in. Baselayr Complete is what's called an SBQ emulsion. It has a chemical makeup that includes very strong resistances to the inks we use every day. This includes high solids water-based, traditional water-based inks, solvent inks, UV, discharge, silicone, and our favorite, plastisol. Baselayr Complete can handle all of it. To perform at its best, Baselayr Complete needs a dialed-in darkroom. So it's ideal for those printers who are constantly pushing the limits of their prints and who are focused on dialing in their setup. As with all emulsions, you want to make sure to have a few things in your darkroom dialed in to make full use of Complete's versatility. Your screens need to be dry. This means humidity is below 40% and ideally closer to 30%. And you need to be light safe. You turn out the lights in your darkroom, it's dark. No light leakage coming in from the outside. You will also want a higher powered exposure unit. A high powered exposure unit needs to have a vacuum lid. When it comes to your light source, a metal halide exposure unit is still king. If you are using LED bulbs, they have to emit light in the 405 nanometer range. If you do not have this setup in your darkroom, you should check out Long Lasting. It has the same emulsion characteristics, but it's more forgiving with the less than ideal darkrooms and exposure units. With the ability to hold a high level of detail, Baselayr Complete can easily hold the fine details necessary for printing both sim process or CMYK print jobs. If you need even greater detail, or you want to push the boundaries of resolution, maybe you need to have greater stencil longevity during a long print run. Try adding Diazo to the emulsion. There is a bottle of Diazo specifically weighed out for Baselayr Complete. Now, while Diazo helps a lot, don't blame it if you can't resolve the detail you want. You still need to properly coat and dry your emulsion and use the proper exposure unit. So if you find you're still running into issues resolving the detail you want, go back and check the darkroom elements we have just gone over. The odds are there's something we can fine tune. So I'm pretty sure by now, all of you have coated a screen. With every emulsion you get, you always want to do testing. You'll need to test multiple coat techniques to get the most from your emulsion. All emulsions will have a difficult time resolving fine detail when the emulsion gets a little thicker. The thicker the emulsion is, the more light can wrap around and close up those fine details. So in general, you want a thinner layer of Baselayr Complete on your higher mesh counts in order to capture those finest details. A 1/1 coat of emulsion will give you that thinner emulsion layer. Other than that, the standard suggestions apply. A 1/2 or a 2/1 for plastisol inks, or on occasion a 2/2 for inks that require a heavy ink deposit. For thinner inks, like water base, a 1/1 should suffice. Maybe a 2/1 depending on how heavy you need your ink deposit to be. When coating thin thread mesh, it is very easy to create a thicker coat of emulsion. That mesh is designed to let fluids pass through more easily. You will want to pull back a little on how you coat your screens. You can accomplish this by tilting the emulsion coater back just a little bit and scrape more emulsion than you let flow through. So you got your screens coated, they're properly dry, now it's time to expose them. Exposure times vary depending on a few variables. Your emulsion thickness, your mesh count, your thread color, standard mesh versus thin thread, and your light source are all going to affect exposure times and the detail you can keep. So how do we figure out what the best exposure time is? We want to use our 21-step calculator to dial in our exposures. Once you rinse out the calculator, you'll have a better idea of how long you should be exposing your screens. If you want starting exposure times, check out the product datasheet in the link below. To sum it all up, Baselayr Complete does just about everything. If you need the best out of your emulsion and you've got everything dialed in, pick some up and elevate your darkroom.